Do I have to speak louder, or can the volume? Right here. Now you can hear? Come on. Okay. Hi. I've been waiting for Mary Danahay to get up here before we officially start.
Sorry, we got waitlisting.
Oh, okay. Yes, we got a very full night tonight, so I want to get us on schedule. And apologies if we seem to be moving quickly, but it's a rare opportunity we have tonight. So first, I'd like to have Beth Bouchard.
Thank you, Mary. Wow, what an exciting night for us to have Bernie Trilling here for us. And most importantly, we are so honored that you took your time out of your day to join us on this incredibly important night. Our first row is our distinguished panel, which we'll be hearing from later, so I'm going to defer and not introduce them at this time. However, we do have a very special guest, the newly elected president of our college, Dr. Lynn Gillette. And we'd like to welcome him. Thank you, Dr. Gillette. And his lovely wife, Erica, is here with us. Thank you for attending. I've worked at several colleges, and I'll tell you right now that we are the most fortunate college, Sierra Nevada College, in our teacher education program, to have a president who puts academic foremost, paramount for what happens at this college. And as you know, you're here because education is so vitally important to the lives of every single one of us and our children and our future. And to have a president that embraces academics as he does, I'm telling you, it'll bring a tear to your eye. So don't cry now, but maybe later. So I'd like to introduce, of course, Mary and Mary. They are here and they have orchestrated this night, and we couldn't have done it without you. Thank you so much. So I'm going to turn it over to them. Again, thank you for attending, and you're going to have a wonderful night.
First, we'd also like to thank all the sponsors who have helped make this possible. Not only Sierra Nevada College with Beth Bouchard as the chair of the Teacher Education Department, Deborah Proud, our Director of Advancement, and Julene Hunter's been invaluable as our Marketing Communications Guru. And at the Lake Tahoe School, we have Ruth Glass as the new head of school, Erica Mirich as Director of Institutional Advancement, and then the Marys. And we wouldn't be here without Bernie and his willingness to come here and be our first live speaker of the series. And UC Davis is a co-owner of this building, so they've been generous to allow the room use. Parasol building will be used tomorrow for the teacher education component. So convince all your teachers to come and participate tomorrow from 3 to 5. And then the Hyatt's been generous with room for Bernie, and wants you to know that locals discounts are still available. Get your 25% off card and eat at the new the Sierra, Cafe is opening up in a couple weeks, all new. So thanks to everyone for supporting it. So brief overview, we're going to summarize what happened last year for those of you who attended, and very rushed through summary of that. But then to focus on Bernie and his keynote address around 21st century learning skills. Then we will have a 30-minute time when panel members who are graciously sitting in the front row here to talk about education locally and how what Bernie's saying ties into that. It'll be just a very brief touch on that, because 30 minutes isn't a lot to cover. As you came in, I don't know that you were handed a sheet for questions. Did that happen? Okay, keep that on hand during Bernie's talk, because we wanted to make it simple for us to understand what are the interests that you have out of this. So that sheet of paper not only will help us guide the questions at the end, but we will take anything you say on that paper on the back side of suggestions, and we'll really take them to heart, because we want to carry forth this discussion after tonight. Let's see, where do I point this? Up? Oh! Okay, so just a very brief overview of the vision for this year's speaker series. Today we're talking about what are the latest developments in 21st century education. This is going in and out, sorry. That's today's session. We hope that in February and in April and May we will be able to do how are 21st century skills and capabilities best developed and assessed, so we can get to a little deeper level of understanding around them. How can we optimally steward 21st century learners, so that comes in the parent role, the community role, the support role for the educational delivery system. And then ultimately in May, we'd love to hear from the mouths of our own learners, how they're experiencing their education and what they would like to see moving forward. Now, the general theme and purpose that the committee that's sponsoring this would like to put forth is that we have the potential to be a dynamic education destination for people around the country who are going to say, wow, that Tahoe place, we want to go there for education. And what would that look like? What would we need to do to make that happen in a collaborative portfolio of educational opportunities? So think about that as we're going through this, but know that whatever comes out of today, we want to hear what the community wants to do moving forward. So this is totally flexible. There we go. So brief summary of what happened last year. We watched The Race to Nowhere, the 2 Million Minutes movie. We heard a video of Ken Robinson, 2 of them actually. We looked at some score comparisons for the PISA, which is the international metrics for math, reading, and I think science is in there too. Yeah. And noticed that we weren't on the top of the list, we Americans. Then we saw a BBC report on the Finland schools and why they're top of the list. We heard from some students, some teachers about what excellence in education means for them. And then we showed some research on motivation, creativity, and flow to get some ideas percolating about what does it mean to be really at the cutting edge of educational excellence. Now this is a purposefully very busy, impossible to read slide, but the point is this is everything that we need to be doing in education according to not only our school vision and plans, but the national sort of imperative about what we should be doing differently. Of course, we have to increase the student graduation rate from college. That's one of those goals. From high school. And we hope they can go to college too. We want to achieve higher proficiency levels and learning growth rates. That's what Washoe County's measuring, growth rates. We want to do, now the new Common Core standards are coming out around the nation, but Nevada's actually one of the leading states that's trying to bring those standards to bear, and Washoe is the first county in Nevada to really roll them out. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, I'm probably just speaking off the top of my head. We want to increase performances in math and sciences so that they can be competitive in the world market, the world economy. We want to ensure that everyone's ready for college or career right out of high school and reduce the need for remediation, have more AP classes being taken. Those are all goals. Now, at the same time, we have a problem because we know from Race to Nowhere that kids are burning out too. They're being asked to do a lot. There's increased dropout rates and stress-related illnesses and suicides. So even as we have to raise the bar on performance and content, we have to worry about our kids suffering. And then on top of that, we've got the fewer resources. Everybody in the country's feeling that. So this seems like an impossible challenge for our fearless leaders. And then the bottom one says, American students are academically behind, yet they're not motivated to learn either. And we were talking earlier about how it's cool to not like school. You know, it's just a culture we have where it's not great to be intellectually stimulated in our current, educational climate. That's a problem, and we need to figure out how we're going to transcend these challenges. And there we go. So I thought you might enjoy this little cartoon that summarizes all of that. It says, "Come away from the window. You don't want to be a child behind, do you?" And she says, "Sounds good to me." And just for those who can't see, there's a sign saying PE. There's a tree that says World Outside. There's a thing called the arts, and back here, the mountains say science. And all these things are very, very exciting for children. And yet, most of our cost-cutting efforts have taken those away from them. So, we have a challenge. One of the solutions we talked about last spring was this research that was done by Jason Mahai. You know, I can barely say that myself, but the idea was, how can we raise our achievement and the success of our kids in school, of our schools overall? Well, get more creative and effective. And a way to do that is this mysterious flow zone. You can do more, you can be more creative, you can be in a joyful place of achieving a lot. And that turns out to be where you're most effective and engaged. And that means what? High challenge level at the cusp of your ability. And I'm saying you, big children, any human. The fact is, this is where we want to challenge them at the level of their ability, but not beyond their ability. We want them to be self-directed, interesting topic for them, deep focus, immediate feedback, and real applications. Those are just some of the learning theory evidence that what could make the difference in achieving these astronomical goals and higher expectations for our children. And then, since we enjoyed watching Ken Robinson's talks last year, and we couldn't afford him, frankly, and I found out from Bernie that he's actually shared a stage with Ken Robinson. And since we couldn't afford both of them, we thought we'd bring in virtual Ken and then have Bernie be our keynote speaker. So, if Mary is able to show, this is his latest talk in 2010. Oh, that guy. Even just now, I got tears in my eyes thinking, you know, are my children's dreams being walked on because of our education system. And I hope this was helpful to get a sense of what a revolution in education might look like versus, say, an incremental, step-by-step improvement plan. And now, first, wait, don't stand up, Brent. We're going to have you introduced by Beth Bouchard.
Thank you, Mary. It is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished lecturer tonight, Bernie Trilling. He comes to us with a wealth of expertise in 20th century learning. He has been the project director for Oracle Foundation and created strategies, methods of educational delivery for educators and students around the world. We are honored to have him here. It's my privilege to welcome Mr. Trilling.
Well, it is a hard act to follow with Sir Ken Robinson. He will tell you.
He is a sir. In fact, you can just call him sir. You don't have to call him Ken at all. He's been a warm-up act for me once before, and although he was on the previous day and I was on the next day, he's great. He really is quite a entertaining speaker. I hope I'll live up to some of that. But part of the trick that I have up my sleeve is that all of you are going to be part of this presentation too, and that may model a little bit more of 21st century learning than what Ken spoke so eloquently about. So we'll actually do a little bit of it. So it's really great to be here. I came up from Palo Alto today and it was glorious. It's wonderful to be in such a glorious and elevated place. You can just feel the elevation here. It's wonderful. And what I want to talk to you about tonight, what I want to spend time with you tonight, is about this really grand movement that's happening all over the world. And it's really quite astounding. And I've had the good fortune, since writing the book and working for Foundation and a couple different foundations recently, to really see how this trend toward 21st century learning is moving along quite nicely. It's has a few bumps in the road here and there, and I'm sure you all have experienced some of that too, but there's really a good news tonight that I have to present, and I will talk about some of the research I've done with some schools that are really doing 21st century learning and what some of the common features are. So stay tuned here. But first, 10 reasons why 21st century learning is going to succeed, and we'll start with 10 countdown. Everybody seems to like that. So the first reason is that the future is actually here. This is the 21st century, I think. We're 11 years now into it. So we better get on with it, right? Before I have to talk about the 22nd century. And one of the things that is most important is that the past comes with us. And as Ken said so eloquently about disenthrall, my role is to disenthrall you tonight, okay? Well, that's an interesting task. But we really do, when we think about education, we think of education in a rearview mirror. We think about education as we were educated. And this may be the biggest barrier to education, transformation, evolution, revolution, however you'd like to call it. And all of us have this little mirror in our heads because we've been educated, most of us, in a fairly traditional way. Raise your hands if you think you were raised in an education system that was not traditional. And there's probably some of you out there. Yeah, okay, a non-traditional education. A few of you, right. But most of us have had an education that's fairly traditional. And we have this rearview mirror in our heads. And so what we need to do, this part of our brain, for tonight especially, is to just get rid of it, toss it away. Just toss that rearview mirror and look into the future, straight into the future, because in fact, that's where our students are going to be living their lives. And our children are going to be living lives in the future, not in our past. So that's the first thing we have to do. And there's a couple quotes that I really like about the future. This one I've been thinking about for a long time. I still don't quite understand it, but I'm getting to it. It's one of those Zen things. The future ain't what it used to be. Okay, this one is very important because this is very, very true. The future is already here. It's just not very evenly distributed. All of you involved in education are participating in part of the future, parts of the future, parts of the past, parts of the future. And that's good because we can actually maybe get to the revolution by evolving that way because we just do more of those things as we go along. And this last one too also talks about your participation. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. And that's what I think we all have to do these days. We're at a very special time in the world, incredibly special and very challenging time. A time of incredible transitions, amazing transitions. Just think just of the news today, what's going on in Europe, what's going on all over the world. And it seems like all of our institutions are not quite coping all that well, all of them. Right? So education is just another one of those institutions that has to move along with the times. So, but it's especially important because it's about our kids. So who remembers 1975? Yeah, okay, I remember 1975. Not all of you, that's good. This is what your home media life was like in 1975. Does anybody remember this thing here? Cassette A-train? Put it on eBay, get rid of it, okay. But that's 1975. Fast forward, this is our home media ecology sheet today, and this is an old slide, but by now we can add a bunch of other things and draw a few more lines. This is the world our students are living in. It's a very different world. Does anybody recognize themselves in this picture? It could have been my 5th grade class, I'm not sure, but it wasn't. Well, things have changed, and this is a class that I'm going to talk about. It's a class I visited in a rural area in Minnesota. And this is actually where kids spend most of their time. What do you see? Each student has a workstation on a desk, a bunch of stuff that they're working on in a project. In each one of the rows, they're in an advisory group with an advisor as part of that. And most of their time is spent in doing projects that they really care about and have very few classes. It's project after project. That could be part of the future. Very different than that. But parts of that may be what we need as far as transformation is concerned, as Ken said, about the revolution. Now, as I travel around a lot, people ask me, so what is the state of education in the world these days. And what's an image for it? I said, well, we've got 1 foot in this boat over here. It's been around for a long time. It's very sturdy. It's brought a lot of people over to the shores of graduation over time. More and more. I mean, especially in this country. But it's getting a little rusty, and some kids are falling overboard, like 25% now, as far as high school graduation, are going overboard. And I said, why are they going overboard? Because they're overboard. But that's and then the other foot is in this fancy new thing, right? And this is the one we're inventing. This is the high-tech carbon fiber Larry Ellison yacht version with the solar panels and the rest. But notice, just in case the technology doesn't work, there still is oars. All right. Anybody involved in technology will appreciate that. So we've got 1 foot in this boat, 1 foot in this boat, and this is the state of education in the world right now. And it's true just about everywhere. Everybody has a portion of their lives in this boat, a portion of their lives in that boat, and we're struggling. And these boats are now moving apart from each other slowly. And at some point, we're going to have to kind of figure out where we're going. And I think that time is coming in a lot of places. Now, this gentleman had a very wise statement about us Americans. So there's some hope. He gave us some hope. Mr. Winston Churchill said, Sir Winston Churchill, another sir, we got 2 sirs tonight, Sir Ken Robinson, Sir Winston Churchill. He said, you can always count on the Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else. And this is really true of education. We have tried everything. We have tried, the reform of the week for the last, 10 years. So it's now time to do the right thing, and we'll just move on. So what is the right thing? Well, there is a global consensus that's growing every day on what students need for success. And we're going to do an activity with you around this. This is the most important question. And if we don't ask this question up front, everything else is a mess. Because, as in anything, if you don't have a goal, what is it said in the Alice in Wonderland? If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, right? So it's really important to get clear about what success is for our students. And what do students now need to learn to be successful in the 21st century? This is the critical question. Everyone has to answer this, and we're going to do that right now. We're going to, as an activity with you, because unless we get this one right, all the rest is just arguments about details. And how many of you have been in arguments about details in education and lost sight of this? So let's just kind of dive in and get this right. We're going to do a little exercise with all of you here. And what I need is a volunteer who has a skill that may not be 21st century, but it's still usable. It's called good penmanship. To jot down some of the comments from the audience as we go along. There'll be a slight reward in case that helps. Okay. I knew the reward would get you. Okay. All right, so here's the setup, and you're all going to participate in this room. Imagine you have a child entering the school system this year. Could be a grandchild, could be a friend's child, but a child that you really love and care about. Entering the school system this year. Entered the school this year, because we're in the middle of the year. Okay, in 20 years, when that child leaves formally the education system, goes out into the world, what will that world be like? Jot down a couple short phrases, a couple words, short phrases, and I'll come around and we'll gather them. And your name is Sharon. Sharon will be our wonderful recorder for today. Big hand for Sharon.
Am I going to need 4 categories?
You're going to need three sections. This one will be called Future.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So jot down what you think the future is going to be like, and I'm going to come around and we'll just see what you have to say. Raise your hand if you got something interesting. Yeah? Anybody? Go ahead.
We were just talking about digital. Their lives will be digital. Everything.
Yeah. More and more digital.
No laptops, no cell phones.
Ah.
It'll be beyond that.
Beyond digital.
Global.
And global. Okay. Beyond devices. Right through the brain, through a plug in the ear. 20 years from now? Could be. Yeah, could be. All right, good. I like this. Now, this is a great... The elevation here does something to you. I can see this. This is really good. I've done this in a lot of groups. That was never the first answer I've ever gotten before. That was wonderful. No, it's really good. Yeah, okay, over here.
Instant.
Huh?
Instant.
Instant. Everything in a second. Yeah. Response in a second. Response for the response in a second. Okay. Global. Yes, global. So say more about global.
Completely interconnected around the world instantaneously. There's no lag in time between communication or interaction. Is just travel is nothing.
So I want to talk to my friend in Kazakhstan. Oop, I'm talking to my friend in Kazakhstan, right? Okay, all right, great.
The point I would make is we have all those things now, but I
Yeah.
think the big difference will be how much of the world has that. I think instead of pick 15%, it might be 85%.
So the pervasiveness of instant-on technology everywhere. Okay, yeah, over here. Just grab
Much
it.
longer lifespan.
Yep.
Much longer lifespan.
Ah, okay. Is that a blessing or is that a curse? It's hard to tell sometimes. Longer lifespan. Okay, over here.
Dependent.
Say more.
Losing how to do things for yourself. How to cook.
Ah, so dependent on others for almost everything. Yeah. And losing sort of our self-independence. More interdependent. Right? Okay, got it. Good. Over here.
Distraction rich.
Distraction. What did you say? No, just joking. I was distracted. Squirrel, yeah. Distraction rich. Okay, oh, you got another one. Okay.
The size of our brains, our brain processing won't be that appreciably different. That's one thing.
Same old biological brains,
Yep.
but other brains supporting us.
And processing far more information with the same tools.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. It is amazing. And with all the internet connections of all these computers, I was just at a meeting at Google talking about artificial intelligence. And we've created a nervous system around the planet now. It's amazing. With all the computers connected to each other. It's quite astounding.
Well, I think people are not wanting to work as hard. I think we're wanting to enjoy our lives more. So in 20 years, I don't know.
A little laziness for 20 years. Yeah, I like that. Just kind of kick back and see the lake, and it's beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Well, we may have time to do that. We're going to talk about the future of work, and maybe there will be more time for that.
Well, I think fewer resources, more instability. Sorry to be a big bummer.
It's okay. Positive, negatives, doesn't matter. So fewer resources because we have to share them with so many more people. What did we just hit on the planet population-wise? 7 billion. Isn't that amazing? And what, the last 4 billion just came on in the last, 100 years or less? That's amazing. Yeah.
I don't think there'll be actual money exchange. It'll all be digitalized. There's been numbers on computers and...
No physical money. We can be digitally broke all the time. Yeah, I like that. I'm approaching that very fast now, being digitally broke. Okay. How about back over here? Yes. I'm going to work off my dinner over here. This is good. I like this a lot. Yeah.
So to your artificial intelligence comment, I think that people will need to be more creative because we'll rely on artificial intelligence to do a lot of tasks that you can relegate or process.
Yeah. So right. So the routine work is going to be taken over by machines. In fact, it is right now. And what's left? Maybe some more creative work. That could be a good thing. Good. Maybe one more. Anybody have a... More competitive. Right. More competitive because everybody who's connected can go for your job, right? If it's a job that you can do while you're connected. Okay, so let's just take a look here of the picture of your future. Digital, way digital, and beyond digital. No laptops, instant communications, global interconnectedness, pervasiveness, longer lifespans, growing interdependencies, distraction-rich, processing more information, laziness, fewer resources, no physical money, routine work taken over by machines, more competitive and more creative at the same time. That's an interesting list. Okay, second question. Given the world you just painted, what skills, knowledge, values, dispositions will your child need to be successful in that world? Jot the ones that you think are most important for success for that child you love and care about. Okay.
The ability to filter information, because there's so much information coming at you. You have to know what's real, what's not.
Absolutely. Information literacy, understanding what's bogus and what's right and what's wrong. Absolutely. Good. Okay. Yeah.
Adaptability.
Adaptability. With change happening so quickly, we're going to have to change and adapt very, very fast.
Multilingual communication.
Mm-hmm. Multilingual text speak, for instance. You're going to have to learn how to do text speak very well, right? As well as other kinds of languages and the rest. There's a hand over here. Yep. Good.
I forgot.
Oh, okay. Forgetfulness. Forgetfulness is one of those things that we'll never get rid of as long as we live.
I remember now.
Oh. And remembrances. Okay, good, good. Yeah. See how fast life is in the future.
It scared me.
Okay.
Being able to synthesize a lot of information into your own creation, your own ownership, because you can't just plagiarize everything.
Right. So synthesizing all kinds of perspectives and making it your own in the process.
Creating a balance between technology and emotional stability. Having to figure out how to unplug yourself and relax.
Who knows how to unplug themselves? Anybody here? Oh, a couple of people do. Good. And emotional stability, given all the input and the fast pace and the information and the media and everything else that we're dealing with every second at a time. People asking you questions with microphones in their hands.
Cultural awareness.
Cultural awareness, multicultural awareness. Yep. Because we interact every day with people from all over the world. And that's going to be more true in the future. Yeah. Okay, over here.
Creativity and ADD.
Creativity and EDD. Say more.
ADD.
Oh, ADD. Say more.
Creativity, being able to think out of the box constantly, and ADD, being able to not have to think too much.
Attention deficit disorder. Yeah? Uh-huh. So constantly being creative, but also being attention deficit. Right. How many of you are looking at your cell phones right now? No? Okay, good. We're just checking. That's an attention deficit disorder. All right, check. Okay, over here. Excuse me.
The ability to learn.
Yeah. Learn.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I would add to what Beth said, the love of learning.
The love, not only the ability, but the love of learning. Whoops, sorry. Absolutely. And we'll get back to that one because that may be something very important in the future. Okay? Yeah.
Problem solver.
Problem solving. And we've got enough problems to solve these days, right? We've got tons. No lack of problems.
Self-motivation.
Say more.
In a world that's so competitive and so global with so many people interacting, in order to be successful, you kind of have to be a self-starter.
Right. In a lot of cases, there's no one else to help you. You're going to have to take off on your own idea and keep going.
But at the same time, collaboration skills.
Right, collaboration skills, because it's hard to do things entirely alone. Some of the challenges that we face. Okay, any others? Yeah, over here.
Being willing to take a risk.
Okay, you got that? Risk-taking. Risk-taking, absolutely. How do you become an entrepreneur without some risk involved these days? Yeah, a couple over here.
Compassion.
Compassion, absolutely. We could all use more of that.
To do all of these things,
Yeah.
you're going to have a lot of self-esteem.
A lot of self-esteem and a lot of energy. Yes, I know. It's a big list. It's a really big list. And these are all the things that you believe are absolutely essential for success in that child you love.
Understanding that change is constant,
And then doing what about it?
but getting a frame of mind that you know that whatever it is today is going to change tomorrow.
I like that. So change is the only constant. Okay.
I'm putting adaptability for change.
That's good. Excellent. All right. Well, let's take a look at this list. This is a really wonderful group, by the way. Okay, skills. You're going to have to be able to filter information and synthesize information, adapt to change every single minute, be multilingual, create a balance in your life, have a multicultural awareness, be both creative and watch your ADD, love of learning, problem solving, self-motivation, collaboration, risk-taking, compassion, self-esteem, and lots of energy to do the whole list. Okay, amazing. Now, this next question is more personal. This is about you. In your lifetime, think back to a time when you were deeply, deeply engaged in learning. Really, really engaged in learning. Totally engaged. What were the conditions that supported that learning of your peak learning experience? What were some of the conditions that enabled that really deep learning experience to happen? Okay.
High expectations
On whose part?
on the part of anyone supporting my education.
So
Parents, school, parents.
everyone. How about you?
Yes. Yes.
But high expectations around you. Everyone is expecting you to achieve.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Lots of resources and supplies.
Lots of resources and supplies. Whatever you needed at the moment you needed it.
A good teacher.
A great teacher.
Yeah.
A motivated teacher. A brilliant teacher. Yes.
Passion.
Passion. Passion for your particular interest.
Yes.
What were you passionate about?
Can't remember now.
That's back to that remembering problem. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, over here. Time. Time to go deep. Time to really get in and not worry about the next class that you have to study for. When did you have that time?
In high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Was it a comprehensive high school, regular high school?
It was a private high school.
A private high school. And they gave you time to go deep into projects?
Yes.
That's very nice. Okay. Back over here.
Permission to fail.
Permission to fail. Tell us about your failure. I'm giving you permission.
Plenty of those.
Yeah, plenty. Okay. So in general, fail and learn from that failure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you can fail in a different way the next time. Absolutely. Yes, over here. I'll come around this way. Yes.
Strong support and nurturing environment.
And support from whom?
Everybody around you, but those that mean the most to you.
Yeah, your family, your friends, strong support from people that you care about and they care about you.
Being allowed to explore by myself.
Explore something that you're interested in alone. Yeah, right, or even outside the interest, yeah. Good, yes, good.
Financial support.
Financial support, psychological support, social support, any kind of support. We'll take all support. Yeah.
He kind of stole the words out of my mouth, but I was going to say nurturing acceptance and belief in yourself. And I also think it's important for other people that are teaching you to believe in you, for you to realize that those people believe in you.
So, time to nurture yourself, have people believe in you, and you believe in yourself, that you can do it. Right. Good. Yeah. Gosh, lots in here.
I've got one completely different. Fear of failure and competition.
Fear of failing competition.
Getting something done quickly because of it.
Right. A little external motivation occasionally. Yeah, absolutely. We'll push you along.
A collaboration, being able to bounce ideas off other people and getting their feedback.
So a nice teamwork going with ideas, and no idea is too crazy, right? You can really kind of get into it. Yeah.
Practical application.
Say more.
Knowing that you can use what you're learning and all of a sudden engage in it.
Yeah. Something real, something applied in the world.
Hands-on learning and large boundaries, not so restricted.
So hands-on learning and maybe learning in the community, not just within a certain space.
Yeah, something that's just not so structured.
Yeah, and with more opportunity to explore more freely. Okay, good. All right, one more.
I need to be somewhere where it's cool to be smart, where there's a culture of scholarship.
That's nice. A place that supports learning, scholarship, and academics. And that says it's important. Absolutely. Okay. Well, you won't believe this, but in 15 minutes, we created a blueprint for the future of education. There it is. We know what the future's like. We know what the skills are that we need, and there's a lot of them in order to be successful. And we know some of the conditions in that environment that have to be there. I'll go through them. High expectations, extrinsic and intrinsic. A lot of resources to support you. Great teachers, fantastic teachers. Passion, time, permission to fail, and to learn from that failure. Lots of support, a nurturing environment, time to explore personal interests. People believe in you. Competition, a little fear of failure doesn't hurt. Collaboration, practical use of what you're learning, hands-on learning, and more opportunities to explore, and it's cool to be smart. A big hand for our recorder. Okay. And I was going to give you a copy of a book. Do you already have one?
I do.
May I have one to give to one of the teachers at my school?
Absolutely. Good push.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right, that's for you. Big hand for her. Okay, great. So, the last question. What would learning look like if it was designed around your blueprint? And this is really important because look, in this list, we forgot to mention a few things like content, understanding, and this, which should be academics, it's in here. But look at all the other things that we have to do in our education system. There's a lot. And you all agree that this is where we have to go in the future. So, what is the top key 21st century skill of them all? Take a guess. Communication. Collaboration. Ability to learn. Okay, learning is what most adults will do in the 21st century. You got it right over here. We're going to have to learn every day. So being an independent learner and learning how to learn and doing it in any new area that you want to explore is going to be absolutely critical because things are changing. We said things are changing so fast. But not only learning, but these are all the other skills that go along with being a deep learner. Okay. Give all yourselves a great hand for that exercise, by the way. You're really wonderful at this. I've done this a lot of times. Other people have done this exercise. This is one group called the Partnership for 21st Century Skills. Interesting group of folks. You can take a look at all the logos. They went through the same exercise. I happened to be chairing the committee that had to come up with these answers that everyone agreed upon, and everybody had to agree upon it. It took 2 years. And here's what we came up with. Anybody seen this before? Yeah. This is the rainbow model, and it was quite a chore getting agreement, and it got tweaked a little bit just more recently. So there were so many lists of skills that people couldn't remember. They also boiled it down to the 4 C's in the learning and innovation skills, plus the other skills which we'll talk about, and these supporting pools, which is what the education system has to do in order to get all those things to happen. This is a nice target. And it's hard. And there's been a lot of work in other countries around the world that have come up with similar frameworks. And this is the list of skills. Let's see if you came up with a similar list. Did you get critical thinking, problem solving? Yeah. Creativity, innovation, I heard that one. Communication, collaboration, heard those. We talked about digital everything, information, media, and ICT, information and communications technology literacy. Flexibility and adaptability, heard that one. Self-direction initiative, social and cross-cultural skills, including language skills, productivity and accountability, and leadership and responsibility. So this was after a lot of work. And it's been a good guide for at least setting the target for what a 21st century education. I can't remember all those myself. So I came up with a list that all starts with the letter C. Critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, innovation, communication and media literacy, collaboration, leadership, cross-culture and social fluency, career, civic and learning, self-direction, and computing and digital proficiency. So there's 7 C's, and that allowed me to do this, which is, I think, my greatest contribution to mathematics. The new learning formula for the 21st century, the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, times the 7 C's equals 21st century learning. Yeah, and I've had this checked by math professors. It does in fact work. So this in a nutshell is where we have to go in education, and it coincides beautifully with what you've just did here. So on to number 7. Guess what? We're all talking about preparedness for college and career. Career just really made a big shift. It's really different all of a sudden. Careers are unbelievably different than they were in the 50s and 60s. So how are they different? Well, whoops, what was that? Come back. Hello? Oh, there you go. Of course, the world is, as we all know, getting flatter. And as we said back here, with competition, anybody with a cell phone, a laptop, and an internet connection can take your job, if that's mostly what you're doing in your job. And secondly, there really is a bifurcation between routine work and creative or non-routine work. And a lot of that work the routine work is being done by machines and by people in the lowest possible bid around the world. So this is serious. So in many ways, the real challenge is to get as many people possible, students, into this area of life. But that's too simplistic. So recently I did some work on some research with a number of labor economists and the rest, and summarized that. And it's summarized in this chart, which says there's actually two things going on at once. You've got the non-routine and the routine work, which we just talked about, but also the delivery of that work, whether it's impersonal or personal. And that sets up a grid. If it's routine work and it's impersonal, can be delivered from anywhere, it's gone. From this country, it's gone. It's already gone. And it's not coming back. If it's non-routine, higher skilled, but also impersonal delivered, it's going. It's moving offshore as the skill level in other countries is rising at lower labor costs. So this part's not looking very good. We're losing a lot of jobs there in this country. Okay, if it's routine and it's personal, low skilled, but has to be delivered by a human being, it's going to stick around. So there's a lot of jobs that we have to prepare for that may not be so high skilled level. And then of course, if it's non-routine, creative, and personal, it's mostly here to stay. So this is the job picture. And in a way, the shape is like a vase. There's high skilled jobs that are personally delivered. There's a few middle skilled jobs, technicians and medical technicians. And then there's a lot of low skilled jobs. And that's kind of the curve that we're seeing in the labor market. This is a different goal for preparing kids than we've had before. It really is. And you think about career and technical education, you think about the different passions that kids have around different kinds of, like being a fireman, for instance. As Sir Ken said, we need to support that. We need to support that just as much now as other kinds of skills. And in fact, all those have technology involved these days also. So there's a mixture of skills in all the jobs. But it's a more complex picture. Okay, number 6. The digital natives are absolutely taking over. They really are. They're becoming more numerous. They were born with a cell phone in their hand, and they know how to work technology quite well. A couple studies from Don Tapscott. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Growing Up Digital or Grown Up Digital. He studied a whole bunch of folks in the net generation. These folks have been called all kinds of things, the X, Y, Z and generation, the net generation, the screenagers they've been called. Any other names that you know of? Anybody offering? One that I like the best, I thought it was pretty good, Homo sapiens. I thought that was sort of like a different species that are kind of, anyway. So what's the results of this research? If you ask 21st century net generation students what they want out of the education system, here's what they say. They want personalized learning. They don't want the same worksheet for everybody. They want speedy access to research, writing, sharing, project tools. Tools. Give me tools that I need when I need them. I want to share, I want to be social, and I want to network and collaborate. And I want to also learn through play. That's the short summary of those 2 books. You don't have to read them now. And it's a lot of other research that's going on kind of supports this. In fact, I think there was a study a while back that said that kids, if they're not getting the learning that they want, they're getting it from YouTube and others in the ways that they want it. And they came up with the idea with the free agent learner. And I think we have free agent learners. They're just going out and learning when and where and however they want. I have a free agent learner son, by the way. He's 12. His name is Jeremy. And he suddenly got so enthralled, not disenthralled, but enthralled with exothermic reactions recently. So he's learning under safety conditions how to do all kinds of interesting, colorful effects with exothermic reactions, commonly known as fireworks. Shh. They're illegal, right? Okay. So we do it in very small amounts. That's right. And this is something that obviously will never happen in school. Never, right? So, but this is a passion that he has right now. And this is the challenge that parents have when a kid has a passion. It's not supported easily in school, and you want it because what happens when you support a kid with their passion and they get to a point of mastery, they become known for something and respected for that. And that's the best gift you can give a kid. Is that, and so now my son, Jeremy, other kids are driving in the car. The kids are always talking, back, a bunch of boys in back with my son. He said, "Boy, Jeremy, you can make anything." He says, "Yeah, well, if you've got the right tools and you've got the right YouTube video, you can do just about anything." So anyway, this is the new generation that we're dealing with. Okay, next. There is an engagement gap at school. Here's one study of many. This is called the High School Survey of Student Engagement out of the Indiana University. 300,000 US students took this, I think last year. They looked at academic, social, and emotional engagement levels, and the results were bored every day in class, 65%, material not interesting, 82%, not relevant, 41%, no teacher interaction, 34%. On the positive side, the things that engaged them the most were discussions, debates, and projects. Okay, that's just one of many studies. So, on to number 5. We do know how people learn. There's been a revolution in cognitive science and neuroscience even, and we do know how people learn. So I want to give you an example, and this is sort of, watch this to see how well this person really knows learning theory. And this is the ultimate challenge. The ultimate challenge is turn a typical textbook math problem into a 21st century learning experience. I don't think there's any greater challenge than that, right? Okay, so let's see what he did.
And I'll yield the floor here for a second to Einstein, who I believe has paid his dues. He talked about the formulation of a problem being so incredibly important. And yet, in my practice...
Well, he did. This is a book called How People Learn. Anybody familiar with it? It's kind of a summary of a lot of the research in learning theory. And here's the summary. Context, is it real world learning? Did he make it real world? Yeah. Caring, did he develop some kind of caring around this? Yeah, how long is it going to take? Okay. Construction, did he use different kinds of models and have them create models and then test those models? Yes. Competence, multiple different methods of learning. Did he use hands-on learning, use visual learning, use tactile, all that stuff? And did he learn, did he have kids learn in a group, sharing their thinking, sharing their thoughts up front? So he's doing a pretty good job. And those are really the kind of the core of what the research says learning's all about these days. Or it has been forever, not just these days. Okay, so on to number 4. Who's heard about the Common Core? Yeah, okay, it's coming, and it's actually here. And the good news is that the Common Core does match up with a number of these skills that we've been talking about. And it really is a turning point. It's a common baseline, and it's a first step. It's not the complete step. It's only English, language arts, and math. Where's science? Where's social studies? Where's all the rest to come? And it's not all the skills that we care a lot about, the ones that you've listed here, but it's some of them. And those core competencies, in addition to the academic content mastery, which is very important, are critical and creative thinking and reasoning, communication skills, and collaboration. Those are really highlighted in the new Common Core, which is good news. That's a really good first step. So it's kind of an open door for even going beyond those. Next. 21st century learning is really happening. It's happening all over the place. It is really all over the place. And I've had the good fortune, through the graces of the Hewlett Foundation, to take a study of over 400 schools in these networks. And some of these may be familiar to you, some not. They're all pretty much all over the United States. There's many of these organizations are actually based in California. New Tech is, High Tech is in San Diego. Expeditionary learning is all over. There's a couple expeditionary learning schools in your area here, I just was hearing about. Envision Schools is back in Midwest. In San Francisco. EdVisions is in the Midwest. And there's a few more. Big Picture Learning Schools are all over too. So these are schools that are pretty advanced. They kind of just kept going when everyone went left. They just kept going on, kind of principles of good learning and engaged learning and sort of a 21st century approach to learning. So the question I was asked to research, this is a great question. I just raised my hand really high when this question was asked. What do they have in common in their practices? Because I think that's kind of the holy grail when you think about it. So I raised my hand and I said, I'll do this study. First thing I did was to take all of their guiding principles from their written principles, and every one of them has a nice rich set of, these are educational principles, and did a wordle. Do you know what a wordle is? Size of the word indicates frequency of that word. So I stuck them all together and wordled it, and this is what I got. What do you see? Students are in the center, yeah. Learning is really important. Success is important. Connected, global, academic, authentic, projects. Adult world commitment, you can see a whole bunch of words that are around that. But there was pretty clear that there was something going on here worth exploring. So through lots of interviews, visits, talking with teachers and students, This is kind of the next stage that I went to. I found 12 things that they had in common. And this is a whole other presentation, so I just want to highlight a couple things. One of the things that I think that may be a clue in how to transform education is this one right here, number 4. Public presentations and authentic performance assessments of work. Students in all 400 of these schools present their work to the public, some more regularly than the others. So when they present that work, they want it to look good. It raises the bar. And when they present it to the public, they want it to be interesting to the public, so they're going to pick a topic that has great interest, which raises the motivation level even further. So it's just one of the many things. And there's a really fascinating part about their culture, which is a combination of very professional approach to work. What's the quality of the work? But at the same time, that was number 8, at the same time, a very personal culture of caring, respect, and trust. So, more about that in the next session. If you want to come to the next session. Okay, so on to number 2. We do have good models for 21st century learning, lots of them, actually quite a few. I have my favorite. It's called the, well, I won't give the punchline away. Anyway, it's a good model. And it starts with the idea of a project having a wheel, which is define, plan, do, and review. That's kind of universal for anything that you want to do. You have to define it, you have to plan it, you have to do it, you have to review it. The teacher has his or her also project plan. They work together. Now you can see it's a bicycle. They co-manage those projects. And here's the most critical thing. What's driving that project is a relevant and critical question or problem. And I really want to emphasize something that I think we've all forgotten in this rush to cover content, to get as much content as possible. We've kind of forgotten that the main motivations for learning are answering questions and solving problems. It has been forever. So this puts it right back. It's the steering wheel of this model. The tools and the gear that you have, your gear shifts, it's your resources and tools that you have at your disposal. Constant evaluation and feedback as you go, not at the end of the year, but constant evaluation and feedback, all kinds. Control the pace and time. Sometimes things go too fast, too slow. Control that pace with your brakes. When you put that project up on the road, the slope is the degree of challenge. Sometimes it could be too hard, sometimes too easy. If you lean too far to the left, you might be guiding too much. If you lean too far to the right, you might not be guiding enough. So it's that balance point. And this is really important. If you get support from your school and community, you get a nice push from the tailwind. And if you don't, you can get a really bad headwind that could just stop you cold. How many of you experienced that? Yeah, it's tough. And of course, the destination is that model that we talked about, that expands.